March 17th, a busy street in the Iraqi city of Karbala. Security video captures a woman dressed in flowing black robes. A bomb she is carrying explodes, killing more than 50 people. A few weeks earlier, a woman tries to drive into the compound of a prominent tribal leader in Ramadi.
From the towers, they try to stop the woman because the woman tried to drive the vehicle inside my base. After that, one of my people on the towers, he shoot the vehicle to start, but the woman blew herself.
This was all that remained of her vehicle. 3 security guards were also killed. A short time later, Sheikh Haifan says he questioned the suicide bomber's mother. CNN obtained his video of the interrogation. The woman speaks almost without emotion about her daughter.
She refused to marry her cousin after an engagement that lasted 4 years. She wanted to die in the name of God. At the end of her life, she got very religious, more than average.
Her son was a suicide bomber in 2004, and she suggests her daughter may have had the same motives.
So she told me she is sick of this life. She told me that this life was worthless. She spoke about the Americans. I asked her, where will you get Americans? She said she would go after the Americans.
They're looking for vulnerable people.
And the Americans are disturbed by the rising number of female suicide bombers.
In 2007, we saw 8 female suicide bombers. In 2008, we've seen 18.
And they seem to have various motives. Some have links to al-qaeda and want revenge.
We do see certain members of cells attempting to persuade women specifically, in many cases wives of those who have been killed as terrorists, to conduct suicide operations.
U.S. intelligence suggests al-qaeda is seeking out women whose families are also struggling financially, making cash promises but not paying out. Often the targets are young widows or women who are deeply religious and swayed by the promise of heavenly rewards. That's also the view of one Sunni leader.
If a woman's psychological state is bad, then they try to lure her here with illusions that she'll be going to heaven and that she can leave all these problems that she's in.
Sometimes, the U.S. military says, female bombers have women as handlers. They captured one.
She was the person on the ground responsible for coordinating the final day or 2 of the attack. So she was the one that brought her down from the initial meeting in Baghdad, brought her in, took her to her cousin's house, then eventually took her to her own house.
Fadawi claims the insurgents' tactics are ruthless.
They can kidnap the woman or make her take some pills. They can use psychological pressure or whatever is out there so they can recruit her again.
In February, al-qaeda even used 2 mentally handicapped women as suicide bombers. They had explosives strapped to them, which were then detonated remotely. Nearly 100 people were killed in 2 separate attacks. Female suicide bombers have also targeted police stations. A reluctance to search women and their long flowing robes makes them ideal bomb carriers.
The U.S. military says it has 6 females in custody who are would-be bombers, and one of them, an official told me, is just 14 years old. And they are concerned that against such a backdrop of suffering and violence, that even more women will be offering themselves as suicide bombers. Arwa Damon, CNN, Baghdad.